So we're going through the Paleo Hebrew. We've gone through, I think, the first probably 10 or so letters. And so we're going to start with Yod today. Yod in the written form looks like this. It's called a jot or a tittle in Matthew chapter 5. But when you look at it in the Paleo Hebrew, what it is the arm that is working, the arm that is grasping something. And so the concept of this, meaning an arm, a hand is working, it's doing something to bring forth, or it is lifted in worship. In other words, and the reason I'm distinguishing this, because when we get to Kaf, this is the palm. And so the arm is doing grasping, it is pulling, it is pushing, it is grabbing onto something to complete a task. All right? And the next letter, Kaf, is simply the palm of the hand. And so the palm of the hand, you can see it right here in the Paleo Hebrew with the fingers here, is this, that it covers, it opens, okay, to allow something to happen, or it can tame something. So you think of an animal, you can't really grab onto that animal, but you can calm it down, and so you are taming it down. So Kaf is as if you are bringing a child to you to cover them, or a child to you in ancient times to bless them, to lay your left hand or your right hand upon them, to give them the blessing from a father to a son, or a father to a daughter, or to just pull them to you. It's not that you're grabbing, because grabbing has a different energy on it than covering. Does that make sense? So this one is grabbing onto something with force. This one is covering it with a much different energy, a calming energy, a loving energy, where this is getting something accomplished or trying to bring forth something, so you're grabbing. It's the difference between grasping and covering. All right? LAMID, here we are with LAMID in its written form today, but then here we just see like a shepherd's staff, or in ancient times could be, the staff was used to prod the herd along, or in less ancient times, but not modern times, cattle or oxen, it could be used as to goad them, to prod them, okay? So it could be called a cattle goad, or an oxen goad, or a shepherd's staff. But used essentially for the same thing, to move or to speak to the herd, that whichever it was. And so it means a shepherd, a strength, a leader, a teacher, and moving to or from. In other words, you were moving the herd from the pen to the field, or from the field into the pen. So it meant you were goading them, you were keeping them line in line so that they could get into the pen or out of the pen, or moving from one place to another. The mem, and mem has a final mem, and so does nun. So we'll be looking at those final letters in the Paleo Hebrew, and the concept of it, of what it could mean. All right? So the mem is a water, all right, a body of water, a liquid, massive, chaotic sense. Chaotic, if a mem appears in the middle of a word, it could mean chaotic. For instance, if you, ma'im has a mem at the beginning and one at the end. And so it could mean that the water is chaotic, but it comes into a place of being complete. So let's think of it like this. If you think of an ocean, out in the middle of the ocean is where the hurricanes happen. And it stirs up the water and makes the water very chaotic. But by the time that hurricane has moved to the shoreline, the more shallow that it gets, it begins to lose its power because of the shore and the shallowness of the water, and it causes that hurricane then to dissipate. So you can think of it that out in the middle of the ocean it's chaotic, but when you get to the shore, it contains the water. All right? And so if you have a glass of water and the glass tips over, all right, it's chaos until something comes in and begins to clean or collect that water back into a place where it's cleaned up or brought into a contained place. That's the difference between a mem, chaotic, and a final mem, meaning that you've got some boundaries now set. All right? And so if a mem is at the beginning or the middle of a word, chaos, but if you have a final mem, it means it's bringing it into order. All right, the difference there that you begin to see when you're looking at the Paleo Hebrew of where the mem occurs in the word. All right, and then of course the last letter that we'll look at today is nun. Nun is, I've written two different ancient forms up here, okay? This one kind of just looks like an N, and I probably should extend that down a little bit. Because it's more like this. And so it's more like if they were explaining the fish was darting through the water. Okay, that's more what this is. This right here is a seed which brings forth life. And so when the mem would dart through the water, it would stir up, or when when the fish would dart through the water, it would stir up the water, causing there to be activity so that the fish could feed off of whatever it had stirred up. That's the concept behind nun when you look at the Paleo Hebrew. Also, this one is a seed which brings forth life.